All right, sir, what are you visiting Norway for? I'm here for the salmon bounty.
Hello there, and welcome to the If It Swims podcast, the multi-species angling podcast. I'm Bret Bolton. Joining me for episode 14 are Justin Wingert.
Hey, man. 14 already.
14. And Dave Spear.
Imitation can opening sounds. Hey, guys.
Perfect. This month, we're discussing recent trips, some fishing news, and then an update, and the first bait release of the Carp Ladder. But, yeah, let's kick it off with trips. Justin, why don't you lead us off?
Hey, you know what? I actually went fishing today.
Today, actually,
Today,
right?
in fact. Literally today. I hadn't been in a while. I wasn't here last month because I've been dealing with some medical stuff. So figured it was nice out for once after it's been cold for like 2 weeks. So I get out there and I chase down some Steves. And then
Nice.
I caught no Steves.
No?
I don't think anyone was catching anything around here. All the ponds I went to looked like they were turning over. There was all that like algae floating on the surface that you could see just like coming up off the bottom. I saw 3 or 4 other people out there fishing as well. I didn't see anybody so much as swing at a fish.
Nice. You know, those ponds were pretty frozen just last week. So.
I figure they're probably, as far as the fish are concerned, they're still frozen. But you know, it was nice to get out there and enjoy the sunshine, fling a couple of roadrunners around. I saw a dead fish, if that counts.
There you go.
Did you accidentally quote snag it?
I did not. It was on the bank already. I could have used it for bait.
Oh man, for the non-existent fish that were there.
I probably would have caught a bullhead if I like chopped it up a little bit.
Ooh, a bullhead. Oh man. So what about you, Dave?
Man, I've been fishing a few times this month. Let's see. The highlights, though. What are the highlights? So I took my granddaughter, who is almost 6,
Awesome,
to a trout derby here in town where they put a bunch of little fingerling trout in a pond. And as I expected, we didn't catch any trout. So I took her to another pond, and try as I might, she didn't catch her own fish, but I did hook a fish, and I gave her the rod and had her do the very hard job of bringing that fish in without losing it.
mm-hmm.
And it was a green sunfish, and that made her happy.
It was.
That's awesome.
And she petted it while it was on the ground and said, "I'm calming it down."
Sure. Did it work?
Yeah, it did.
Sure.
Until we threw it back in the water, you know.
And then it floated up because she'd been petting it for 20 minutes.
Yeah. And then I went for some Steves the week after that. So we had a warm spell of like 85 degrees for like 5 days. So I waited until it had been 5 days of in the 80s. And I went to a couple of bass ponds, and
Nice.
I smashed the Steves.
Excellent.
I threw nothing but a fluke, and I caught probably about 2.5 dozen bass up to 3
Wow.
pounds.
Very
That's
nice.
a lot of bass.
And the irony of all this is I had actually never fished a fluke before. And I had some, and I only had some because my nephew came to visit a while ago when we were doing an art project, and we went to Academy to buy some soft plastics to melt to pour into some molds we'd made. And he wanted something pink. So I had some bubblegum pink super flukes, and I just tore the bass up on them.
It's a good color. It's a good
Nice.
color. Did you watch a YouTube video to how to fish a fluke, or was it just intuitive?
I did both, but I don't remember if I actually watched the video until after.
I was gonna say
okay.
I
Couldn't
would
tell you.
watch the video because I've never fished flukes either. So
That's a lure, maybe not the fluke, but the whatever the older names were for them
Yeah.
that basically were invented while my dad and I were fishing a bunch.
Yeah.
So we spent a lot of time fishing those things. They're extremely effective and a little more hands-on, a little more connected than fishing a crankbait or something.
Sure.
You know.
Well, I had a
Yeah.
blast.
Yeah, yeah.
I had some old rusty worm hooks that had that had weights on them already, like a little bit of lead, like 16th ounce or something of lead. And I was shocked when I put that fluke on that little hook and threw it across the pond. It went like a country mile. I was I was afraid it wasn't going to be heavy enough.
No, that rubber's pretty heavy.
That reminds me, when I was out earlier today, I was fishing this little pond by a church, which I had wanted to fish for a while, and it seemed like it was like 1 foot deep. But across the pond, somebody else was fishing it. He was fishing a bait caster. And I swear, every time this guy would cast, he would take 2 to 3 running, hopping steps and then just wing it as hard as he could for every single cast.
Oh man!
And he wasn't even casting it that far. I was like, what is that guy doing? I tried not to laugh every time I watched him cast. It was amazing.
If we weren't separated by a few hundred miles, I would say it was me, because that's the way I looked when I went fishing last week.
Is that your bait caster technique too?
So I had that excellent week of fishing for bass, and then it got cold, and then on a Saturday it got up to like 70, and I went back. But I guess I'd overfilled the reel of this bait caster, and I have this really bad, really cheap braid. And I like about every third cast, nothing would happen. Like, no, it would not cast.
Yeah.
And I mean, I had the little wheel, the little wheel where you're supposed to drop your bait till it hits the ground. I had that turned all the way off. I think I just had too much line on it.
Did you just keep your thumb on the spool the whole time?
There was another guy fishing across the pond from me, and I could tell he was one of these guys, either knew what he was doing or thought he did, because he had this portable thing. He was fishing with 7 rigs from the bank of a pond, and he had this like portable stand. Because when I first saw him on one part of the pond, I was like, wow, this guy like set up a rod holder. But then I watched him move all around the pond. He carried it around like a little golf caddy.
Crazy.
That's kind of cool.
That's a dude that does not like to retie.
Yeah. I didn't see him catch any fish either.
He brought 7 lures, and when they're gone, he's leaving.
Yeah. So between me and him, we decided the Steves were cold, because that pond has been producing. So
yeah, well, yeah, I'm glad you got out though. And speaking of cold Steves, guess what? I went.
Yeah.
Yeah, I did 2 different things. I spent one entire Saturday earlier in the month, driving and heading all around North Texas, seeing if the white bass or the hybrids were up in the creeks or rivers yet. They weren't.
So does that mean you were throwing a line, or does that mean you were looking for crowds of trucks?
Well, both.
That's a good question.
I was throwing little crappie jigs around, up in these creeks, and not a single true bass. I caught a couple tiny Steves, and for the listeners who weren't here,
there's a few people who are going, what the hell is a Steve?
Steve is a largemouth bass. So back up.
Steven Tyler.
Named after Steven Tyler. We did not name it after Steven Tyler. We just came across that name.
and there's Steve's from here on out.
And Steve's a good name for him. So I didn't see a single true bass. I ran into some other anglers up there. No true bass either. So
I remember last year, one of our early episodes, I was talking about a trip I did where I caught like a 3.5 pound hybrid on a Roadrunner and just fishing a creek.
Yeah,
been run up. I think I want to say that was like mid-March, so it's getting close, but it's probably still a bit early. I fished a different part of that same creek today as well, because it was walking distance from one of the ponds I was at, and I didn't get anything there either. No sign of any true bass or anything yet.
Well, so. I've got them in mid to late February before, but it's been a cold.
Yeah, we've had a pretty cold February.
The end of it was cold.
Yeah,
yeah, and the other trip, which was a true skunk trip. I went to a local tail race to see what I could catch on some 3D printed jerk baits.
Nice.
Complete failure. And I don't think it was the jerk baits. They all performed as I expected, and they're just fake minnows, right?
Yep.
It was above freezing when I got there, but the past 2 days have been in the lower teens, and those fish were just cold, is my guess.
Well, are you sure that you didn't accidentally print the hooks inside out or something?
I buy good hooks. Just saying. But I did have a good time. I got to go outside, and there was a lot of birds moving around. I got to see those guys. I saw a couple of birds I don't see too often around here, which is kind of nice.
Cool.
Nothing fancy, just bluebirds. I just don't see them very much.
Eastern bluebirds.
Yeah.
The little guys. They're
I don't
pretty.
see them here. They're cool looking birds, but
Yeah.
I mean, I know they're here. They hide from me a bunch.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I saw those guys. I stopped for a plate of nachos on the way home at a brewery. So it was a good a good day.
You know, that's one good thing about fishing in the cold in this part of or the cold for us, right? We talked about this a little bit in the last episode about just, fish are cold-blooded features.
Saying cold because people listen to us and go, what are you guys talking about? It's 35 degrees.
Somebody's going to be listening while they're actively ice fishing.
Exactly.
Right,
what are you talking about? I got a pile of yellow perch here.
Yeah.
There's no.
But the nice thing for us is we're also the end of the route for many migratory birds that come from farther north places in the country. And of course, any of the deciduous trees, their leaves are gone. So you see a lot of cool birds this time of year. If you're getting skunked, it's better to walk a creek and look up.
True. And I grew up looking at the birds while I was out there. You said, Dave, you recently started keeping track of birds a little more on purpose, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
That's cool. Yeah. Plus, like I said, going outside's worth it, whether I'm catching a fish or not,
Good deal. Well, we all did it. And we all caught fish.
I didn't catch anything.
Oh, that's right. Justin.
Oh, okay. Well.
Look, I'm
I forgot about that.
I'm going to count. Say it again.
Mm-hmm. Yes, Dave. I skunked.
Well, that was like 3 minutes ago. I forgot already.
Good point. Good point. Awesome. You guys got fishing news?
I mean, I got news.
You got something?
I got something.
Since Justin started with trips, Dave, what do you got?
Oh man, I got a couple. All right, it's eeny, meeny, miny, mo. We're going to talk about fads.
Interesting.
Anybody heard about fads? These are like,
in the
little
general
things
sense?
that happen in the popular culture.
No, and not in any news stories I read about fishing. So this should be good.
Let's talk about it. So while combing a Corpus Christi beach for interesting objects washed in from the sea, marine biologist Jace Tunnell came across an intriguing yet concerning find. Known as a fish aggregating device, otherwise known as a fad, the devices widely used by the tuna fishing industry are designed to track schools of fish, making the tuna easier to catch, and they've started to wash up on the beaches. Fads often consist of floating rafts with dangling materials like netting or ropes to mimic the shade and shelter that smaller fish naturally seek beneath floating debris. As a result, larger predatory fish like tuna will be attracted. Typically, these rafts also have a beacon attached to alert fishermen when they should deploy their nets. Many fads that wash up on Texas beaches originate from tuna fisheries as far away as West Africa, carried by ocean currents across the Atlantic. While they play a significant, I know, it's crazy, right? While they play a significant role in the global fishing industry by helping to increase catch rates, Tunnell warns they also have a dark side. They do pose serious hazards to marine wildlife. The ropes and nets.
Drugs to the tuna?
That's what it is. There's a bad corner on that fad. They pose a hazard basically because of the nets. Sometimes we'll entangle sea turtles, seabirds. Each year, Tunnell documents several fads washing ashore. And while they do offer valuable insight into the far-reaching impacts of the fishing industry, they also serve as a reminder of the importance of reducing marine debris and promoting sustainable fishing practices. Should you come across a fad, use caution, as they can be heavy and pose entanglement risks.
Oh, okay.
Corpus Christi isn't the only area in Texas where such devices appeared. Last April, a fad made of bamboo branches tied together with rope measuring between 8 to 9 feet long was discovered by a beachcomber near the Galveston Fishing Pier. So
I think if I found one of those, I would just be like, hey, this is some dude's homemade fishing raft.
Right?
Right.
I hope
beware
he
of
didn't
fads.
drown.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd be worried if I saw it washed ashore and there's nobody on it, and it was made of bamboo. I'd be like, man, I hope somebody didn't take this out to sea and didn't make it back.
What's the strangest thing you guys have found washed ashore?
That's a good question. I don't know that I found anything like really, really strange. Just like a usual, like somebody's boxers or a shoe.
Yeah.
I think I saw a bicycle.
Yeah, hard hats was the thing that came to mind. Yeah. So you drive down Padre Island National Seashore.
Everywhere.
And it's hard hats everywhere. And they fall off of workers on rigs in the Gulf, and they end up on the beach.
It's very strange.
They're very floaty.
I found
Where's that big like oil barrel thing?
There's a giant tank down on.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking of.
Yeah, I mean it's a giant water tank or something, and it's 20 foot by 20 foot, and it's been down there for years.
Yeah.
Found a square grouper once in Florida.
Did you really?
Yes. I mean, there were many of us. We did find a square grouper.
Yeah.
We just sent somebody the coordinates and said, "There's a bale out here." We left it. We didn't touch it.
You didn't feel like pulling out your Bryan Cranston and getting rich?
No, I did not. And then then on the Texas coast somewhere, I found a huge, well, not huge, probably 10 foot by 10 foot yellow buoy thing full of electronics.
Oh,
that's pretty cool.
Wave measuring device. I don't know, but it was busted open on the shore,
I wonder if it was like a weather station or something.
Yeah, it was crazy looking. It was big. You could crawl into it if you wanted to. It was big enough.
That's what was tracking that square grouper.
Yeah, it's a good thing Bret turned it in.
Exactly. Oh man, well that was a long ways away. That was in the Keys. Of course, it was in the Keys, right?
Right. I mean, it's right in the name.
Oh, nice. I stepped into that one, didn't I? Oh, man. Hey, what do you have, Justin? That's a cool story, Dave.
Okay, so you guys may have heard of this story.
He's making it up. I can tell by the way he's hemming and hawing.
This is from, so I found this article on a couple of sites, including the New York Post, but this is actually from Vice.com because I like their sarcastic take on it.
Nice.
The headline of the article is, "Woman tried to take a selfie with a shark and lost both hands." A woman lost both her hands after trying to do something so dumb that it pains me even to write this, says the author Kyle Filippi. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. Kyle, I like your work if I am. And I guess I like your work if I'm not pronouncing it right too. Says nice. She wanted to snag a selfie with a shark. What ended up happening was the complete opposite of a Kodak moment. Instead, it sparked a vicious bite that saw the Canadian woman vacationing in Turks and Caicos walking away with no hands. The 55-year-old woman was wandering around the shallow end, I think, of the bay, I guess, when she spotted a 6-foot predator. Then the idea of capturing a selfie popped into her head, and she began following it before eventually coming face to face with the shark. Now, in the Vice, that's the Vice article. I'll get back to that in a second, but it's said in the other article from the New York Post that she, quote, attempted to engage with the animal from the shallows in an attempt to take photographs. So one article says she attempted to engage. One says she came face to face. So I can only imagine she was literally poking the shark because it took both her hands. It's like, hey, shark, hold still. I'm going to get a selfie with you. I mean, I feel sorry for the lady, but at the same time, it's a shark. Says, man. Photos emerged on the Daily Mail of the woman lying in the sand with cloth towels around the ends of her arms where her once fully functioning hands were. Like I said, this guy's very sarcastic about it. I don't really blame him. Victim was taken to a local hospital before being airlifted to another medical center. One of her hands was amputated at the wrist while the other was severed midway down her forearm. So that thing just went straight at her arms and basically took both hands and was like, I'll have these.
So I wonder if it got her phone.
I was wondering if she got the shot.
Yeah,
Yeah, right.
It's gonna maybe if it poops out her phone, someone will recover it and they'll be like, "Oh, look at this incredible selfie of this shark right before this lady lost her hands."
She'll win
it says.
wildlife.
I'm doing my best imitation.
I appreciate. I also appreciate this in the article. It says it may be 2025, but people still don't understand that the ocean, for all its beauty and serenity, is still a vastly untapped space where things much bigger and stronger than us call home. This isn't to say we should never go in the ocean again, but I think a good starting point we can walk away from this story is to not try and get a selfie with a shark.
I bet she's not going in the ocean again.
I guess not.
This is going to be a short tangent, but it reminds me of something I read on the internets the other day. Somebody was talking about in one of a neighborhood group about where to go to a beach. And somebody was naming some beaches in Texas, but they said, but I wouldn't bother with a couple of these beaches because there's so many fishermen that they attract sharks.
No.
And I couldn't. I didn't engage. I couldn't engage.
Nope. Nope. Good call.
Probably for the best.
So I've got a news story.
All right, go for it. I was just going to ask what you found in the news.
From Fox News, which oddly has a really good fishing news section I see often.
Yeah, some of their articles came up in a bunch of my searches too.
Yeah. A seafood company in Norway.
Saw this one.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm glad I didn't go with it.
Yes. Is offering a bounty on its salmon after some 27,000 of them escaped from a farm. Maui.
Sorry. I had the mental image of bounty hunters after salmon.
Here it comes.
Like their hats and everything.
Yes.
Let's get them, boys.
Maui, the world's largest producer of Atlantic salmon, announced recently that about a quarter of its stock had escaped after a fence was damaged during a storm. Dave, have you seen these? You guys have seen these farms before?
I've seen the pictures, yeah.
Yeah, it's offshore.
I think so, like the
big
circular,
nets.
yeah, like the
Oh, yeah, I've seen those.
Yeah. The fish are believed to be in the waters off the coast of Troms, a city in northwest Norway. The Norwegian media outlet VG reported earlier this week. In an attempt to get the fish back, Maui is offering a reward of 500 kroner, about $44, per fish that is turned in. The escaped fish were ready to be harvested and weigh about 12 pounds each. The average weight of Atlantic salmon is between 8 to 12 pounds, according to the website for the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service. A salmon researcher told VG that there are definite risks to the wild salmon population if these fish are not captured. If the farm salmon spawn with the wild salmon, the characteristics of the farm salmon, increased growth rates, et cetera, could change the wild salmon. As the number of wild salmon has declined over time, it's, quote, extra important to keep the farmed salmon and wild salmon populations separate, she said. There's been a lot of discussion over the past years about these offshore fish farms. This is another chapter in that. I understand the situation here to an extent, but we as humans need to do better about this.
I agree with that.
Yeah, I've seen these out there, and I know that the ones off of the U.S. coast, the seals just hang out around them and just terrorize them. But right? I've also read that as the other salmon migrate in and out and swim under these things, they're swimming through just a rain of poop from pellet fed fish. And there's a small little spot there where they are that it's probably not the best in the ocean, right?
Interesting.
Weird. Yeah. Anyway.
My question there is about the bounties. Do you have to turn the fish in alive? Do they want them on ice?
I think they don't care if they're alive. I think they just want to have them so they can count them and they don't want their fish back. They want their fish gone.
you don't think they're going to try and sell them again after this.
No, they are in a lot of trouble.
They want their liability
lowered.
And they want as many of these fish back as possible. There's a reasonable chance.
Because I just imagine a guy like showing up with a cooler full of like fish that have been dead for 3 days and like, here's my fish, where's my bounty?
I suspect if you turned in 10 fish to these people, they would probably let you keep them. They just want to check it off the list. Here's another 10. 10.
There's no way in heck they could sell them as food after somebody else.
Yeah, that's kind of what I figured.
Exactly.
I was just wondering about that. No. I was gonna say there's got to be all kinds of safety laws and stuff about that.
Exactly the instance, yeah. But 27,000 rogue salmon.
I'm sure they'll salmon. I'm sure they'll get them all back real fast.
Oh, I'm sure.
Well, as somebody who's not particularly interested in Norwegian weather or salmon fishing, not that I'm against it, but I don't know. You guys want to get on an airplane? I'm all about fish that are easy to catch.
Yeah, and 27,000 extra fish heading up a river. I bet I can catch a couple of those guys, right?
$44 a hook set.
$44 each.
Yeah, I was saying we just gotta catch enough to pay for the trip, and it'll be a success.
Man.
Forget angling ethics. I mean, I'm going to be throwing out rigs that have 27 treble hooks on them. We're just going to make some money, have some fun.
Dave's immediately going to get arrested by Norwegian Fish and Game. Oh, American, huh? I can tell by all these treble hooks you got on there.
You violated the law of a maximum of 102 hooks attached to your rod, sir.
Oh, man. So I don't know what they're going to do with all these guys out there, but someone's going to catch a few of them, I'm betting.
I'm thinking from now on, salmon farms are probably going to put a little radio beacon in every 100th fish or something, so they can follow the school when they escape.
Yeah, I mean,
I like the idea of that trip showing up like at the airport and going through customs. Like, all right, sir, what are you visiting Norway for? I'm here for the salmon bounty.
Oh man, I can see it now. And I assume they mark their fish in some manner as well.
I would assume that they did. Otherwise, like anyone's just gonna go out there and catch some salmon and be like, "Oh yeah, I totally caught some. Where's my money?"
Yeah.
Well, we have to perform genetic tests on these. I don't think they're gonna be doing that. So,
sir, I'm sorry to tell you, but your salmon looks like an awful lot like a pail full of bullheads.
I mean, if I get $44 for a bullhead, I wouldn't be here. Oh, that's good. All right, man. That's news, isn't it?
Seems that way.
Awesome.
We found some good stuff around the world this time around.
Good job, gentlemen.
Good
job.
Spread out a little bit, That's kind of fun. So we have one final thing to cover, and that is the Carp Ladder. So this episode...
Oh, we need a special theme song for it. I was in my head, something was coming, but it just didn't finish.
Next month?
We need a Les Claypool bass run style song for it. Every time somebody says Carp Ladder, it's like bow 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 bow.
We'll just steal the sting from Seinfeld. Oh, that's funny.
Close enough.
Jinx.
Close enough.
Oh. Yeah, so finally the Carp Ladder. This episode drops 1 month and 1 day before the official start of the contest on April 1st, 2025. And it runs for a full year. For the record, April 1st was not an accident. This entire thing requires some fools to pull it off.
That's true.
Oh, man. We already have 11 people signed up for the contest. So now is a great time to jump in.
And there's only like 5 of us.
5 of us. There's only 3 of us. And we're not signed up. And we're not signed up yet, by the way.
Dave's seeing double already.
Yeah, well.
That root beer is really getting to him.
That's right.
Anyway, it is a great time to jump in. Send an email to Carp Ladder, which is one word, at ifitswims.com. And it will get you a sign-up sheet, the template for submissions, and then at 12:01 a.m. on the 1st, we will send you the official image to include with your catches. So, we said the baits would be super simple to start with. The first 4, I want you guys to chime in on whether or not these are easy or not. In this order of the ladder, the first rung, sweet corn.
Yeah, that was what I figured would be number one.
I wondered if corn would be on the bottom.
I don't know. That's
It
a
should
tough
be.
one.
I suspect across. Okay, in the past 50 years, more carp have been caught on sweet corn than anything in the U.S. Correct?
Probably.
Before that, I'm sure it was number
Dough ball.
2. Number 2 on the number 2 rung is a dough ball.
And I think nobody fishes those anymore because corn stays on the hook better.
And it's easier to get. It's not sticky. It's super easy to deal with. And if you get hungry, you can just eat it. Whether that's Wheaties, cornflakes, oatmeal, anything you want. The second rung is a dough ball.
That was going to be a follow-up question, but you already answered it. Was it a specific kind of dough or not?
Anything you want. We'll
Okay.
get more specific later. And original drafts of this, I had different dough balls in the list.
Mm-hmm.
But since someone mentioned tofu, I can. No, dough
That
ball's
jerk.
Dough ball is a dough ball, right?
Mm-hmm.
I've caught on dough balls. That's what I grew up catching carp on as a kid.
That's how I first learned to catch carp.
Right.
I've never actually seen one. So are you talking about taking a piece of Wonder Bread and squeezing it into a little ball, or are you talking about actual uncooked dough?
That would be
Uncooked dough.
bread.
That'd be
I
bread.
see.
I
see.
When I was a kid, it was Wheaties and Big Red soda.
Yeah, we used
Nice.
Wheaties. The very first time I ever caught a carp, it was on a dough ball. I told Bret this story. I don't know if Dave's heard it or not. I mean, it's not like a huge tale or anything, but my dad and I were fishing. I think my brother was with us as well when we were kids, and we were on a fishing pier, and we've been catching some small walleye and stuff on minnows, but they stopped biting, and we started seeing carp jump. And Dad was like, "Oh, there's carp in here," and somebody had been out there fishing for them previously and had left half like a cardboard tube of Quaker's instant oats out there.
Nice.
Dad was like, we could make some dough balls out of that and try to catch those carp. I'm like, all right, let's give it a shot. So we mixed up the oatmeal and water, just made little dough balls, molded them around the hook, put it out there, and within 10 minutes, I had like an 8-pound carp on. And as like a 11-year-old kid, that basically changed my entire outlook on what a fish should do when you fight it. Just ripping off drag, and I did not know how to handle it. So Dad coaxed me through the whole, let them run. Taught me how to, reel when you're pulling down, pump them up a little bit, let them run. Yeah. Basically used carp fishing to teach me how to catch bigger fish that day, which was awesome.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, no, that's a good way to do it. When I was volunteering in Scouts as a fishing instructor for adults and youth, mostly for adults, I wrote an article called "What Comes After Bluegill." Because everyone starts youth on bluegill, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
And kids, if they're going to get into angling, will quickly outgrow that. So, and they'll come back to it later because it's fun. But you know what I mean.
Right.
My article said in my dictionary, it is, I don't know, whatever the word was after bluegill. But to me, it's the common carp. It teaches you so much about fighting fish.
Mm-hmm.
And they're accessible to anyone everywhere. Anyway, that's a side note, but remember that story pretty well, that article pretty well.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Okay, so we got number 1 corn, sweet corn,
Right.
number 2 dough ball. And since I've never seen or never heard, and since Bret gave us his recipe years ago on a dare, I used peanut butter flavored Captain Crunch cereal as a fish dredge, as a fried fish dredge.
Was that a dare, or did you just say, I'm going to do it?
I said I'm going to do
He
it, and
dared
Bret looked
himself.
at me like I was crazy, and then I thought to myself, I really have to do this.
Was I wrong?
I don't think you were wrong. It was delicious.
That's what you said.
It was absolutely, I cannot even describe how delicious it was. But since we've got that, and since I'm drinking a root beer, I'm drinking a regular 0 alcohol root beer. There is this quote unquote beer that a buddy of mine used to really like to drink a couple of years ago called Not Your Father's Root Beer or Not Your Granddad's Root Beer. Anyway, it's alcohol.
Hard root
It's
beer,
beer.
right?
Hard root
Hard root beer, right?
Yeah.
So I'm going to join the Carp Ladder because it sounds like fun, and I'm pretty sure my dough ball is going to be peanut butter Captain Crunch and Not Your Father's Root Beer.
I
Okay.
suspect you'll catch a fish on it.
I suspect you will too.
Or if I'm feeling really lazy, I might
probably a
just raid the
catfish.
pantry.
Yes, the right. Yes, and to any of our listeners in the UK, yes, this is basically a grocery store carp bait challenge.
There you go.
Rung 3 on the ladder, still keeping it super easy, is bread. Whether it's bagels, white bread, biscuits, toast, or whatever, just bread. Ball it up, use it loose, whatever works. If you want to get real fancy and compress it and put it on a hair rig, that'd be pretty cool too.
Interesting.
I've caught them on bread. I know Justin has.
Yep. If you wad up bread like you're going to put it on a hair rig and then you boil it, does it become a boilie or a bagel?
I think it's a dumpling.
We'll have to check in with the chefs.
I've caught them on bread in ponds.
Sure. In fact, I know a place. I can think of where I would go bread fishing because there's some enormous grass carp that are getting fed bread on a regular basis.
Oh yeah,
Bad
they
news about the
fish
grass
those.
carp, though, Dave. As you know, we're only
Oh,
counting common carp for
count.
this.
Oh, we're only counting common carp? We're not counting buffalo carp?
Hold on, buffalo carp. I say we're only counting.
Well,
but in the
since there
rule,
is no such fish as the
it's
buffalo
pretty-
carp,
it's pretty clear. Only counting commons, but we absolutely 100% definitely want to see any of the catches you come up with.
Oh, sure.
We
please
wanna
show
see
us
the
all the
sunfish.
fish you catch.
We want to see you reeling in that bread and it turns just right and a bass slams it. We want to see the buffalo, I want somebody to catch a sturgeon on
There you go.
one of these baits. I
the
just
river carp sucker, the quillback.
want to-
So we have the main contest, which is the carp ladder, the common carp ladder, and then we have the side hustle, which is the Steve ladder.
the Steve ladder,
Steve
or at
ladder.
least the look at all these ridiculous other fish we caught
Yeah.
in this thing. A little side note, it'll be awesome.
And even special prizes for non-fish species, right? Like crabs, turtles.
Oh, please not!
Oh, you're gonna get
turtles.
so many turtles.
Oh man! And the last of the 4 released right now is the unflavored chickpea, the garbanzo bean. It's a good bait.
Interesting.
It's a pretty simple, pretty common bait. for carp.
Interesting.
Mhm.
We're not getting weird yet. When I fish with them, which is a bait, this is a bait I use. I used to call it nature's boilie.
Did you say an uncooked?
Flavored.
Unflavored.
Yeah,
I
you're going
see.
to have to cook it or soak it or whatever. Otherwise, it's just gravel.
I'm imagining the texture of a chickpea that comes like out of a can, and I'm thinking it's too soft, maybe.
I've caught carp on those out of a can. You have to put them on a hair rig,
Yeah.
you know. Yeah. So these first 4, they're all possible as a hook bait. But as we move along, hair rigs or something similar will be without question required. I've seen some things on this list.
I'm gonna have to.
Wait a minute. You made the list.
Yes. There are some things that require hair rig, I assure you.
Well, you're up to 4, and you haven't even mentioned my favorite bait for just, if you're feeling trashy. But maybe it comes later. Maybe it doesn't come at all.
What bait is that, Dave?
Noodling.
It was for a
jumps in there
very
and
special.
grabs
It was for a very special location, very special circumstances. But
Oh,
more than
it's on
once,
there. It's on there.
I drove through an Arby's
Oh,
to order curly fries
Oh.
and told my passengers that we weren't eating; we were buying bait.
so as a hint, that one is on there.
Oh, well, there you go.
And the one I thought you were going to say is also on there.
Okay.
One that I was with you once when you had tied up some flies to mimic this. We were fishing at a marina.
Oh, yeah. I know exactly what Brett's talking about.
Yes, and it's a good idea.
All right.
Keeping the catfish off might be tough.
Yeah. Yep. All right, so let's do a quick repeat because we've gone on 1,000 tangents, right? So we're going to start with sweet corn.
Right. In order. And then the first rung is sweet corn.
Yep.
You have to catch it on sweet corn before you move on to that dough bait.
Gotcha.
So the idea then is that you cannot move to the next bait on the ladder until you have caught on the previous bait.
Correct.
Okay.
So if I put 4 rods out with 4 baits, but the wrong rod goes off first,
doesn't count.
I just wasted a shot at glory.
Yes, I'm actually fishing just exclusively with each one at a time. I might have the second one in the truck with me, but I'm fishing one.
Oh, just in case fishing's hot.
And there in the rule books, in the rule book. No, there's no rule book. In the rules, it does mention that where chumming is legal, we're seriously requesting only chumming with the intended bait.
That makes sense.
Otherwise,
makes sense.
You just use pack bait, and they catch that on a bead, right?
Yeah.
Makes it too easy. So only chumming with the same hook bait or same bait.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
I've never chummed with peanut butter Captain Crunch before.
No, you probably have not.
Now's the time to start.
By the way, I hope we can get some money from Kellogg's or General Mills or whoever makes that cereal, just for the mention.
I don't think they're going to like that.
There's like 5 guys.
We might get a cease and desist from them. It'll be even better than money.
Hey,
please stop promoting our products as fish bait.
All publicity is good publicity, Bret.
Oh, man. Yeah, that's what I've heard. Anyway, I can't wait to see everyone's catches. I can't wait to see what else eats this stuff as well. Again, drop a note to Carp Ladder at ifitswims.com and we'll get you signed up. I promise it'll be fun.
That's it. I've decided Carp Ladder, that's too much.
Okay.
I'm going to take your Carp Ladder and I'm going to go take the baits down to the coast and make it a redfish ladder. And I'm going to catch redfish on sweet corn.
I've always wanted, when I'm fishing the surf, I've always wanted to take some boilies or something like that and throw it out there.
Just to see what you get.
What picks it up.
That'd be cool,
right?
Actually.
I mean, I know what the answer is going to be.
Hardhead.
Yeah, that's pretty much it.
Hardhead catfish.
All day. But I do want to catch something on a boilie down there because that's what a weird thing to do.
Or a large pinfish, depending on the size of the boilie.
Yeah. Anything that is just sucking up stuff off the bottom, right?
Yeah.
You might get a stingray on it.
Sure.
Especially if you have a boilie that is crab.
Gulp flavored.
No, that's an idea.
Do they make gulp flavored boilies? I don't know. I might be mixing worlds here.
They might tomorrow.
That's what we should do. We should make some of our old shrimp flavor boilies.
Oh, yeah?
Just to take to the coast and drone them out there and see what we pick up on.
Yeah, catfish.
Probably. But if it's out there far enough, maybe it'll be a bigger catfish.
Oh, man.
We talked a couple of months ago.
I bet a redfish would suck up a couple of shrimp or catfish.
Oh, sure.
A couple of shrimp or crab flavored boilies.
Of course.
Sure.
I was going to say, almost said catfish flavored boilies.
Redfish are of any fish, fresh or salt water. No, they eat like sunfish.
Mm-hmm.
They will chase down live bait. They will dig through mud, eating whatever the hell they can find. They'll eat anything dead they see. They're sunfish. Other fish might be picky, but they will eat absolutely anything in any manner. Top water, bottom, they don't care, do they?
Not that I can tell.
No, you're not likely to catch a speck on, you can, but you're not going to fish for them with a piece of dead bait on the bottom, are you?
That's true.
But you will fish for a red that way, won't you?
Yep.
I usually do.
All right, it's dead after. It's been out there for an hour. It's probably dead. Or the same fish will pick up something dead off the bottom like that. Will also just hammer a topwater.
Yeah.
There's not many fish out there that do that I can think of. I'm sure when I stop recording them, oh yeah, there's this. But bass won't do that, and they will. But you can't target bass with a piece of dead something on the bottom. You know, you can't target channel catfish with a topwater lure either. I've caught them on it, but you're not going to have much success.
Yeah. But if you're going to say, all right, it's catfish season, I got nothing but poppers in my rig.
break out the frogs. We're going catfishing.
That's right.
Oh, man.
At that point, I just assume that you've mixed up your species and you think a catfish is a bass and vice versa.
There's a YouTube guy I watch, Ayo, who's awesome. I wish he would join this podcast. I keep bugging him. He never has. Anyway, and he was out fishing for something else one day during the cicada brood up there, wherever in Georgia or somewhere.
Yeah.
And they were catching catfish on topwater.
Nice.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
Because they were hoovering up these
sucking down cicadas. Yeah.
So he was throwing like a popper or something and just getting hammered by catfish.
Yep.
What a weird day that was, right?
That's awesome.
Dad and I used to jokingly refer to catfish as whiskered bass.
The whiskered bass?
Whiskered bass, yeah.
Nice. Ayo, if you're listening, or if anyone knows Ayo, tell him to call me. Get on here and do 13 questions with, would you?
There you go.
All right. So anyway, guys, thanks for hanging out, man.
Yeah, it's been great.
Thanks for having us.
You guys do anything else?
Nope.
Nope. All right,
Not
man.
really.
We are on the web at ifitswims.com and on Instagram at if_it_swims. All links to find us are available in the show notes, along with items covered this month. Our music was written for us by Dallas artist Jeff Hewitt. Join us again next month. Tell a friend, and as always, we will see you out there.